Hello, scholars. It's Miss JJ here, and I've missed you very much. I hope everyone's staying very warm and safe and cozy in their homes, and hopefully we get back to school soon. But in the meantime, I'm here to read with you and lead you through an activity. So, as we always do in Miss JJ's class, I'll read, then you read. I'll read, then you read. Thumbs up if you're ready. Dear scholars, today we will read Rosie Revere, Engineer. What does engineer mean? Love, Miss JJ. Okay, what do you think engineer does mean? Well, let's put our thinking caps on and let's think about that while I'm reading, okay? Rosie Revere, Engineer by Andrea Beaty, illustrated by David Roberts. And just a reminder, the author is the person who, that's right, wrote the book. And the illustrator is the person who, yes, drew the pictures. Okay, Rosie Revere, Engineer. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Leela Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. Do we see young Rosie? She's right here. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. What machines do you see in here? I see a helicopter. I see an airplane and another one. What do you think she's making here, I wonder? When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts. A hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. You see her hat? And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, I do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day, kept her dreams to herself. What happened when Rosie tried to give her uncle the hat? And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for to stay. Her great-great-aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams. What do you think is going to happen? That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. She's not talking very kindly about herself, is she? She's being very hard on herself. She strapped into the cockpit. She flipped on the switch. The Helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughing and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, "Oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never, never will I be a great engineer." She turned round to leave, but then Great-Great-Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. "You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next." Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. "I failed," said dear Rosie. "It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed." "Yes," said her great aunt, "it crashed, that is true. But first it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew." "Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next." She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. That's right. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. See that? It says, "We can do it." At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. And that's the end. All right. Welcome back, scholars. This is going to be our activity today. We are going to engineer a paper airplane. So earlier I asked you, what do you think an engineer is? What does that mean? Well, an engineer is simply a person who makes things. It could be a person who helps design and build a bridge. It could be a person who designs and builds an airplane, or a part for an airplane, or a helicopter, or a part for a helicopter. So today, instead of calling you scholars, I think I'm gonna call you all engineers. So engineers, what you need today is you need a standard size piece of paper. I recommend asking a grown-up at home if they have any junk mail lying around, something that would probably go in the recycling bin anyway, but make sure you ask permission first so that you don't use an important piece of paper that they need to keep. I found this cool piece of paper that looks just like the cool graph paper in the book. And so I thought that would be a fun way to showcase some themes from our book by using this paper. And also, it'll be really easy to follow along where our folds should be. So the first thing you're going to do when you get your piece of paper, if you need to hit pause and go find one, go ahead and hit pause and take your time. When you return, you're going to start by folding your piece of paper in half this way. We call it hot dog style. It's hot dog style because it looks like a long skinny hot dog bun when you fold it in half that way. Okay, now try to make sure your edges are even. Miss JJ is a little bit off, so I'm gonna try again and do a better job. I also like to make sure my crease is very, very sharp. I like to have a nice sharp edge. So here's my edge, and here's the flap where it opens. So that's step one. Step two, we're gonna take just this top corner. So go like this, pull it up like that, okay. We're gonna take this side and we're gonna make this edge here line up with this edge here. So this edge here is gonna line up with that edge there. And once again, I'm gonna try to make it as close to perfect as possible. Now there's not really any such thing as perfect, but this is gonna be pretty close. And then I'm just gonna make sure my crease is nice and sharp. So now on this flap, you also have a, what shape is that? A triangle, that's right. You have a triangle on this side. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna flip our airplane over. And we're gonna repeat the step on this side. We're gonna take this edge and meet it up with this edge here. So we're gonna pull it down this time and line it up to make it nice and neat. Then make a crease and make your crease real sharp. I use my fingernail. So now on this side, I have a triangle flap. And when I flip it over on this side, I also have a triangle flap. When I look at it this way, and I open my triangle flaps, it makes a square. That's right, a square. So if everything is looking good and you're on track with us, let's keep going. If you feel like you made a mistake somewhere, would Rosie Revere give up? No, she would not. She would just hit rewind on this video and try again. So you can do the same thing. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this edge, just the top flap, just the top flap. We're gonna take this edge and line it up with our long edge here. So carefully take your edge. I'm going to try to keep this one tucked in there. I'm going to try to line it up just right. Again, close to as perfect as I can, but there's no such thing as really perfect. But I want it to, I'm not busy. I'm going to take my time and try to do a really good job. And I'm going to crease it. So now I have another flap. So I have this one from earlier, and then I folded it into this one. What do you think we're going to do next? That's right, we're going to repeat it on the other side. So now you can fold your plane over, and we're going to match this edge with this bottom edge, this edge with this bottom edge. So I'm going to fold it down like that. Try to make it nice and even with the other side, and make a crease. And then I make my crease very sharp with my fingernail. So now I'm starting to see an airplane come together. Are you seeing that? Is that kind of airplane shaped? It is. Well, I want us to do this one more time to get a really good paper airplane going so that it flies really far. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this long angled edge and I'm going to match it down at the bottom one more time. So here's my fold, okay, and here's my open side. I'm going to take the open side and match it to the fold again. One more time on each side. Okay, then I'm going to make my crease sharp. And that's right, after I do that, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to repeat it on the other side. I'm going to take my open side and match it down to the bottom of my fold side. Okay. I'm going to crease it really, really well. Now I have a really awesome looking paper airplane. I have one more cool trick to teach you. A scientist taught me this. A scientist who's really, really into engineering stuff told me that if you make these ends, so here's your pointy end, and then here's your flaps. Take your flaps and fold a tiny little bit up so that you almost have like little cat ears at the end of your plane. You see that? See it from the side? Let's see if we can really get a good look at that. So I folded them up just a little bit on the ends. There it is from the back. Okay, this is your paper airplane. Now, we're gonna try to fly this thing down my hallway. You ready for that? Before you go flying yours anywhere, who do you think you should ask before you go flying it inside of your house? Yep, that's right. Go ask a grown-up where are good, safe places for you to try throwing your paper airplane, okay? And I promise you, you'll do better if you throw it nice and gently instead of throwing it as hard as you can, because you'll have too much resistance on your plane and it will crash. All right, let's give it a try. All right, engineers, let's take our airplanes for a test run. And be safe. Do not throw your airplane at any people. Make sure that the area is clear. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Not bad. Thanks, engineers, for joining me for an awesome read aloud and for a fun activity. I hope that I see you really, really soon. Okay, stay safe and warm. Bye-bye.